I was mentioning to Dustin tonight whether he ever had something planned out for his lesson or his sermon or whatever, and then at the last minute something came up and changed that. And he said it was pretty common, and it's very common with me, it seems like. So what I had planned is not going to be what you're going to hear tonight. Last Saturday night, we had some phone calls. I'm sure everybody was aware, and things transpired that were providential from God. There's just no other way that it could have been. And I got to thinking about that situation, and I was thinking how teamwork works in a congregation. You know, we can look at things. One of the things I was thinking in nature, we look at an ant and a colony of ants and how they work together to do all of the things that they do to prepare for their life cycle. I mean, they gather food, they store it. You know, they've got this ant hill that's got streets and rooms and everything, and they've got some that are taking care of the eggs, and some that are taking care of the queen, and some that are gathering food and all of this. And they don't have any leader. I mean, everybody just kind of pitches in and does. And I'm thinking, that's the way the church was designed to be. It was designed that everyone has a gift. Everyone has a talent. And as it tells us in Scripture, the church is made up like a body. And a body has many parts. And those many parts work together. And I was thinking how things transpired on Saturday. It would have been so easy for that phone call to be ignored, which for a time it was. For a time that call was ignored. I mean, it'd just ring and ring, and then it'd be silent, and then everybody's listening to Dustin, and then it'd ring again. And it crossed my mind, should I go back there and answer that? Or do I want to just continue to listen to Dustin? And it crossed Jill's mind too. She actually got up and went back there, but didn't know how to run the phone. Well, after all the class was over and everything, went back there and listened to the answer machine, and it just wasn't very clear. There was a woman's voice, but it wasn't very clear. And I thought, I don't know. Should we do anything? And then the phone rings. Is Paul there? Sure, he's right here. Gave him the phone. He talks. I come out, visit and everything. Paul comes out, and I could tell by the look on his face that there was something he wanted to tell me. So he gives me an address and says, she needs help. He could have handed it to anybody, but he handed it to me. And I think he knew that it would be taken care of. But I really didn't want to go. I had other plans. But I thought, we better check it out. So Jill and I go down there, and we walk in, and immediately with Jill's compassion and mercy, she sits down with Mary Lou, holds her hand, and comforts her. I can't do that. That's not my job. It's just not. I'm just not one of those compassionate, merciful people. I'm a server. But then it was mentioned that her son was in trouble. He needed something. That's where I came in. I'll take care of this. I got this. Jill would never be able to handle that. Not at all. So I took that part over. And after 3 hours, we got it all figured out. And even in that 3 hours, I was wondering, am I doing the right thing? Am I truly doing the right thing? I mean, deep down, yeah, I think, yeah, this should be done. But you know, you have your doubts sometimes. In talking with him on the phone, he was fairly emotional, but you know, then you get to thinking, is that true emotion or is that drug-induced? The thoughts cross your mind. And you think, am I judging the book by its cover? Am I thinking, And then later on through the process, he doesn't get entrance into one of the motels. Come to find out it's because of how he looks. I'm thinking, whew. They made a judgment call on him by how he looked. And then I think back, but I made a judgment call on how he sounded. I was appalled at them. They wouldn't let him in, but I had the same thought. Things worked out. And then I made the announcement on Sunday of what happened. And then the glorious thing of this whole thing that came out is that Mary Lou decided to be baptized into Christ. That happened because of Jill, not because of me. That was her working, her part of it. But then after the announcement, 4 people came to me with monetary help. Teamwork. Byron comes up to me and says, you know what? He needs to get to Salt Lake. I got her done. It's a done deal. Teamwork. How does that happen? I mean, it all worked out providentially, didn't it? It's because each one of us has a passion to do God's will. And you have to have that passion. It has to be in there. Now, we're going to have doubts, just like I did. Doubts, is this really God's will? Is this really what needs to be done? And sometimes we have to just turn it over to God and say, you know what, I'm going to do the right thing. And if it's not right, if he was taking advantage or whatever, I'm doing it for the right reason. And whatever he does with it, then that's between him and God. But my situation is between me and God, and I have to make that. And that's why I kind of get disturbed with myself, because I have those thoughts that run through my mind, that I'm going to judge the book by its cover. My original lesson that I was going to have for tonight was about the Ethiopian eunuch and Philip in Acts 8, where Philip was called by God to go and see this one guy. He's preaching in a city, multiple conversions probably. And yet God said, no, I want you to go over here, and I want you to go to a non-Jew, a proselyte. He was a Gentile. That was kind of probably a little scary. Why did he go? He was sitting in a perfect place. All these other people converting him. But God told him go. And how did he go? Hangdog reluctantly? Immediately. He went immediately. Didn't wait around. It'd have been easy to put off whatever that was back there. God's providence was the fact that no one is normally here on a Saturday night. No one. But we were. We were here for what reason? to hear preaching on what? Going beyond the walls. Beyond, how can that be? I mean, really, how can that happen that way? And I feel after the 4 lessons that we have had, that Dustin has presented, I feel that we have a new passion in our hearts to go out beyond the walls. To do, as Dustin said, how you doing today? And then ask him, why are you good? Get involved. Find out what needs to be known about people that don't have Christ. What is it going to take to get involved in their life to show them why we're different? And it's going to take some effort. It's just like Philip. It would have been easy for him to say, nah, I'm fine here, God. He went immediately. He ran after the chariot. He made sure that the eunuch was saying, I'm reading this and I don't know what's going on here. He made sure that he answered the questions for him. He got involved. He had a passion to do that. And I think we all know that, I could probably pretty much guarantee that Dustin has a passion for presenting the gospel, for teaching people that this is what needs to be done, and doesn't pull any punches. And I think that's what we need. I think we need to have that same passion here. This congregation will be twice as big if we continue with that same passion that we've seen displayed here through that teaching. Because that's what it's going to take. It's not going to be something that we can say, well, yeah, we'll do that next week, some other time. It's got to be now. We had Bob Turner here, 2 years ago? And that's where these started. Our vision and our mission. That was teamwork. He came here to help us. Get us involved as a team. Let's get this going. And then it kind of just slowly well, when are we going to have Bob back? We need to pump the crowd up a little bit. Well, it didn't happen. And things kind of just, well, we'll do our best. And then Dustin comes, and there again, another team member here to pump us up, to get us going. We got to work together. Everybody has something that they can do. Whether it's teaching a class, whether it's going out and ministering one-on-one, having a Bible study. When Mary Lou walked out from that room and was a child of God, a sister in Christ, what did I say? This is just the beginning. Now what do we got to do? We got to keep her in the faith. Now she is the most vulnerable. Satan doesn't want her to continue. He lost that battle. He doesn't want her to continue. He wants to put something in her way that will cause her not to be faithful. Teamwork. James Monroe is going to be picking her up on Sundays to be here whenever she can be here. That's great. It's something that James can do. He knows her well. Donna's best friend. Who better? It was like it was designed that way. And I truly think it is. It's God's design. That there is something for everybody. There is someone for everyone that can happen. I think back many years ago when we were meeting in the homes. And at that time, I think we were 20-some people, I think, in that. And we had several elderly people that were in the Discovery Care Center. And we could count on Donna Monroe every week to go and visit those elderly. And she would come back and say how they were doing. We could count on it. And we didn't have to ask her to do it. She enjoyed doing it. And she was consistent at it. And I think back, that was teamwork. That was getting things done. Was there anybody that told her? Nope. She done it on her own. I think too many times most churches will, and Dustin mentioned this, they will put that responsibility on one man. And they'll pay him to do it. And then they feel, that's taken care of. I don't have to be in the equation now. I can go on with my life and I can attend, but I don't have to put myself out on something that might be uncomfortable, that might take up more time than I really need it to take up. Because we have a tendency to fill our days, I know I do, fill our days with all kinds of things that may not be promoting God's kingdom, may just be promoting our kingdom. And I think that there's too many times that we miss opportunities to go out and touch people's lives, to present ourselves a living sacrifice to others, that they can see they're different. They're different. Jesus worked with 12 disciples. At one time, he sent out 72, and they worked as a team. Paul went out with Barnabas and several others. Peter went out with many. I wonder why he had that way. Why did he have it like that? I think it tells us in Ecclesiastes chapter 4. 2 are better than 1 because they have a good return for their work. If one falls down, his friend can help him up. But pity the man who falls and has no one to help him up. Also, if 2 lie down together, they will keep warm. But how can one keep warm alone? Though one may be overpowered, 2 can defend themselves. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. Solomon's wisdom. And that is wisdom. 2 are better than 1. As we work with this congregation, as we work together as one body, I think we can be aware that there are others that can help, that can do more. I have a tendency to kind of sit back and say, you know what? Somebody else is more qualified to do that. I'm just a server. I can go out here and I can dig the ditch or I can load the wood or whatever, physically. That's what I like to do. Is that all that I can do? Am I not supposed to be more like Christ, who is able to be all of those things, a server, compassionate, merciful, be an evangelist? I'm supposed to be all of that. But I sometimes have a tendency to concentrate on just one thing, and I don't I don't really qualify for that part. Well, somebody else is doing that better than I am. But maybe there's a reason the other one's not doing it. And we have to just step in there and say, hey, I'll do it. Willingly. With a passion, knowing that this will be done. This will get done. This will be to God's glory. When we work as a team, there's some skills that will only be developed by working together. Some of them, they won't be developed unless we work as a team. There is lots of things that can be learned singularly, yes, on your own. But as a team, that's the thing that I think we need to realize, that there's lots of things that we can learn if we work together. Learning to lead, to delegate, learn to receive from others, handing things off to others. All those things can be skills that can be developed as a team. And if there's more than one person, you have different perspectives and different ideas. And I think that's important. Because one situation, if one person looks at it and they say, well, this is the way it needs to be handled, if you have several looking at it, there may be something that that person missed. There may be something that, well, what about this? And it could have been handled differently. So I think it's important to have that teamwork attitude. Yes?
Accounts of the gospel, or the same accounts but different perspectives from different men who had different professions and different looks on life and different experiences and different upbringings.
Yep.
And it's amazing when you get to know people. People tend to gravitate to one of the gospels. They may, if they're going to be looking at the life of Christ, they may always go to John first because they have more of that mentality, or they may go to Matthew because they use that side of the brain because they're more in numbers, or they think like Luke did. And it's interesting when you look at the Gospels with that different perspective. It's pretty neat.
Yeah. And that's how we need to be. Because there's different ways we can look at things. The way I look at something may be completely different than the way Dan would look at it, or Roger. All of those things need to be taken into account because every situation is unique. Not everybody is cookie cutter cut out. Everything is, it could have been a totally different thing on Saturday night. But yet, the way it turned out, it was God's providence throughout all of it. Because there's no way that we could have ever came up with that scenario and that it would have worked out correctly. But God had His hand in everything that happened. And since then, He has worked things out perfectly after the fact that things are going to get done. I mean, it was kind of up in the air. Okay, we've got her baptized. She doesn't have a vehicle. How's she going to get here? Boom, James. I'd never thought of that. I mean, and he offered. We could have said, okay, now who's going to be going? Who's going to be going and picking her up? Come on, volunteers. And it just happened that way. So that's one of the things that we need to keep in mind, is that different perspectives on things. As Dustin said, we can have lots of different ways that we can look at it. But I believe after the 4 lessons that we've had, I think we are ready to go beyond the walls. We're definitely ready to. We have that passion. And hopefully that won't die. Hopefully that won't just shrivel up. Because this room could be twice filled, easily. When we look at what the harvest is out there, it's white. And we need to be aware of everyone that we're around. As Dustin said, when we shake the hand of somebody, how you doing? Good. Ask them why. And then tell them why you are good. Get the conversation going. Jill doesn't have any problem starting a conversation with anyone, people that she doesn't even know. But I look at many times she asks for prayers for someone that she's met at the social services office, some kid at the high school, some kid that comes home with Jake. I'm thinking, those are contacts. Those are contacts. And we do. We kind of make a joke. Jill talks to anybody. But really, why don't we? As Dustin said, what do we have to tell them? The greatest thing possible. That's what we have to tell them. And yet we kind of hold back. Because, as it was said, we might be embarrassed or something.
One thing you kept bringing up is teamwork. And the one thing we don't utilize enough is maybe you are not comfortable with talking to someone, or me, or someone else, but we can go find a Jill and say, come with us. And
Exactly.
Let's go talk. Or, well, I'm just saying, or anybody, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
If you're not comfortable, then find someone who is that can help you. Instead, we just kind of let it go.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes back to that teamwork. We need to work as a
Right.
team.
He sent them out 2 by 2, didn't he? It tells us in Ecclesiastes, 2 are better than 1. Why do we think that it's better if we just go out alone? Take someone. And take someone that will be it will always be of benefit, no matter what. I mean, even if they aren't talkers in that. If you take 2, you're going to succeed.
Well, like you said, you had one strength, she had another.
Exactly.
So take someone that will compliment you with strengths you don't have, and
Right.
you compliment them with strengths you
Mhm.
have.
Yep. Because there's no way on that night that Jill would have been able to do what I did. And there's no way that I could have done what she did. She had the compassion and the mercy to comfort her. Because she was distraught, very distraught. And I would have been at a loss. But when the moment came that, well, he's going to need some help. He probably needs a room immediately. Hey, I got a phone. I can make reservations. I can do this. I can arrange things. If I would have known how long it was going to take and all the hassle and everything, if I'd have known before, I may have questioned it. But you know what? It was before me. And I thought, I'm going to get this done. I got frustrated in dealing with people that were judging by the cover. But as I said, I had those thoughts run through my mind briefly too. But it is important that we work, this whole congregation, work as a team, as a body, as a unit. Because if we don't, if we're going all different directions, it just starts falling apart. And that's why it's so important to be together, to have the fellowship, to not just, well, I attend, but that's about all I need to do. No, it's not all you need to do. It brings us together so that we can work whatever it is out together. I made the comment to Jack tonight. He's back there taking care of the kitchen. I said, Jack, I'm sure glad that you do that because I'd forget. But he doesn't. He's there. He's a team player. He's there cleaning up after we eat on Sunday. And no one asked him to do it. He done it on his own. Same thing we need to do. If there's something that needs to be done, we should just do it on our own. Get it done.